Good evening and welcome to Reading to the 246. My name is Karen Wall, but you can call me Auntie Karen. Reading to the 246 is a space where children of all ages, including us adults, can learn facts about Barbados, islands across the region, and the world. A special shout out to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. I want to say thank you for joining us, but also don't forget to subscribe, tag, and share. This coming Tuesday, Barbadians will join with others across the world to rock their socks as part of World Down Syndrome Awareness Day. In Barbados, we are also celebrating the month of the disabled. So when we rock our socks, we are not only rocking them for those individuals with Down syndromes, but for everyone who has a disability and those affected by disability. As an educator and advocate of students with special needs, I particularly like the theme for this year, with us, not for us. I've taught some amazing individuals diagnosed with varying disabilities and met and interacted with some of their parents. And the one main goal for every parent is to ensure their child has access to the best opportunities specific to their needs. So as you pull up your socks on Tuesday, think of a way you can empower an individual with a disability. Instead of doing it for them, let's do it with them. This brings me to this evening's guest. Readers, please welcome Patricia Gulstone.
Good evening.
Patricia Gulstone is a mother of an adult daughter, Rachel, and a 13-year-old son, Michael. Michael was diagnosed at birth with Down syndrome and later with autism. Patricia is a banker by profession and has worked in that industry for over 20 years. She is a Sunday school teacher and a lay minister with her church. She enjoys reading. She is a passionate baker and she loves interacting with people. Thank you again for joining us this evening. With us, not for us. What does that phrase mean to you and for your family, especially Michael?
This speaks to partnership. I know that many times persons think that children or adults who have a disability that you must do things for them. But we want to partner with them to be able to help them help themselves, because at the end of the day, they must live in this society along with other neurotypical persons. So we want for them to be independent as possible so that they can make a contribution as well.
So as parents and as teachers, our job is to empower. It is not to enable, it is to empower.
Definitely.
When we come back after the break, we'll go right into story time with Patricia Gulstone as she reads Lottie Finds Heritage from Lottie, the Black Belly Sheep series by local author Sandra O. Brown. Okay, over to you, Patricia.
Okay, so this book, Lottie, the Black Belly Lamb, and this story is entitled Lottie Finds Heritage. I chose it because it is Barbadian, uniquely Barbadian. It was Sunday morning in historic Bridgetown. The rain had washed the day clean. The sky was bright blue with puffy clouds floating like bits of cotton. In the distance, the bells of the cathedral rang softly. Families would soon be going to church. The blue bus bringing them would stop at the Sundays only bus stop on St. Michael's Road. Lottie the Black Belly Lamb nibbled on a blade of grass while she followed her mother, her aunt, and her twin sister, Lanny, as they walked along a footpath beside the Constitution River. Lottie always lingered behind the flock, but her mother made sure she did not dawdle too long. She was a happy lamb full of life and frolic. Sunday mornings were always quiet and peaceful in the city. The humdrum and the chatter of people on weekdays were absent. The fast yellow buses that belched black smoke, the loud trucks that hauled goods to and from the port were all absent or fewer. Only an occasional person strolled along the sidewalk, or the odd vehicle passed by, but it was just quiet. What a pleasant place to be at 6 in the morning. This was the time for city sheep. Sheep on the go. Sheep in the city. No one cared that they walked through the city on Sunday mornings. So that is when they did just so. Lottie never knew why they every Sunday. She had never asked. Not until this particular Sunday, that is. They dared not walk there on weekdays, though. At least not Lottie's clan. There were too many people in a rush on weekdays. Too many people that changed the peacefulness and charm of the city. Lottie liked Sunday mornings. Birds dipped up and down on spindly legs, grubbing up worms at the river's edge. Sometimes egrets swooped down to find a tasty treat among the sedges, and other times strange birds with long, thin bills waded in the water. Lottie was tempted many times to chase after the birds, but she did not like to get her feet wet, so she stayed away from the edge of the muddy river. This river, she had been told, was once a swamp where the mangrove trees were large and crabs scurried around. So Lottie stayed her distance from the edge. And besides, she knew that her mother would not approve of that kind of behavior. Sometimes they would walk along James Street, where Lottie saw an impressive limestone building. Her mother told her that that was the public library, where hundreds of books were kept and where children learned a lot of things about the world. That library was built in 1906 as a gift to the people of Barbados by Mr. Andrew Carnegie, an American. Lottie's mother had said that chattel houses were indigenous to Barbados, meaning that they were developed in Barbados and by Barbadians first. Her aunt Litra had said that black-belly sheep were also indigenous to Barbados, and because of that, sheep were very special. Lottie held her head high and stood erect. She did not need to be told that she was special. She knew that from the time she plopped out of her mother a few minutes before her sister Lani. In fact, she felt like royalty, and she strutted a little prouder when she heard it said that she belonged to a special breed. Lottie and her family were not from the rural area or the country with wide expanses of field to graze. They did not have open pastures or specially grown grass for their pleasure. They were city sheep. Yet, city sheep did not have to envy country bred sheep. There was always a lot to eat, even though it was a city with lots of buildings. Lottie's mom knew where all the patches of grass were, and she led her family to them, and the juicy which were dotted around the streetscapes. She knew the open pasture adjoining the Queen Elizabeth II Hospital and the cricket field of Queen's Park, where early Barbadians gathered for recreation. Further enough for a sheep to graze. Lottie's mom had learned the city from her mother, and especially from her grandmother, who had said historic Bridgetown was a very special colonial city. Lottie did not know what that word meant, so she asked her mother. Bah, bah, said Lottie to her mother as they trotted along. But her mother was on a mission that beautiful Sunday morning on June 26, 2011. She did not answer her little lamb Lottie. She quickened her steps and headed towards River Road and on to Fairchild Street. Her flock followed briskly behind her. As they walked, they came upon more people near the Fairchild Street public market. Hawkers were unpacking their produce for sale from their wooden trays, while other ground provisions were stored in straw baskets. Many years ago, according to Lottie's grandmother, pottery made in Chalky Mount was sold in that very market under a shed. Now, the city was getting a bit busy. Pigeons swirled overhead, and a few bicyclists pedaled in the direction of the swing bridge. The flock had come to the heart of the city. It was a new experience. They had never come this way before. They were accustomed to the city, but not this area. They usually went in the direction of James Street, onto Baxter's Road, through Subtle Street, Lakes Folly, and onto Fontebelle, where they roamed freely. Sometimes they even went to cricket's Mecca, Kensington Oval, from which they had been chased on more than one occasion before they could even trod on the sacred turf. At the Oval, they had seen the majestic statue of the greatest cricketer the world had ever seen, the only living national hero, His Excellency Sir Garfield Sobers. Now, they stood in line as Lottie's mother stopped abruptly, and waited for the traffic lights to change. How did she know? Lottie and Lanny twitched with excitement, while the other sheep in the flock remained calm and orderly. They trusted their leader, and wherever she led, they followed. At the crossing, Lottie looked all around and saw the tall buildings and the beautiful vista. She saw a bridge to her right, but her mother did not turn on that bridge at the changing of the lights. Instead, she crossed straight ahead and went to a beautiful little park with a statue. The city sheep had come to Independence Square, a place adorned by the statue of the father of independence and national hero, His Excellency Errol Walton Barrow. Lottie gasped at the sight. It was a beautiful area, and the view across the water was special. Bah, bah, said Lottie's mother as she marshaled her flock around her. The sheep had come to look at the center of historic Bridgetown, where centuries before, early settlers had erected a wooden bridge to get across the inlet of seawater. When that wooden bridge, the second one built, was destroyed by fire in 1659, and then by several floods, it was rebuilt of stone and steel and was transformed into the West Bridge. In 1872, a new bridge was built and called the Swing Bridge or Chamberlain Bridge. That bridge swung to the side to allow boats to enter the inner basin of the careenage. The other bridge, called the East Bridge, then the Victoria Bridge, and later the Duncan O'Neill Bridge ensured that the heart of the city was justly called Bridgetown. Lottie's little pear-shaped eyes with black markings that defined them had never seen anything so special. The waters of the inner basin between the two bridges sparkled in the morning sunlight, and Moses' boats bobbed gently on its surface. To the left, Lottie saw through the trees the tall masts of boats and yachts. She had never before in her life seen boats. So there they stood, a flock of sheep like sentinels in the city. One man sat at a distance from them on a concrete bench, enjoying the morning breeze and looking amazed at the sight of sheep in the square. And then it happened. Ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, dong, 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 dong. Lottie and her family stood perfectly still with ears straight out at complete right angles to the ground as the clock chimed 8 a.m. Directly across the water were the Parliament buildings with clock tower west wing. What an impressive sound it made. Those buildings were, according to Lottie's mother, there since 1871. For the West Building and 1874 for the East Building, even though Barbados's parliament is over 350 years. In their shadow stands the statue of Admiral Horatio Nelson, like a silent sentry in historic Bridgetown since 1813. Not until the last chime did Lottie's mother signal to the other sheep to move. It was as though the sheep were glued to the spot while the clock struck 8 o'clock. They had stood in reverence and paid homage to the city. This was their city, their historic Bridgetown. Just a day before, on Saturday, June 25th, 2011, this little city had shown the entire world how special it was. Its streetscapes were unique, and it had maintained their serpentine layout for centuries. As a result, historic Bridgetown had been inscribed by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, along with its very special garrison, which has more colonial buildings intact than most other colonized territories. Lottie's mother knew this, and she knew that she should bring her family to be a part of the historic happening. She knew that it was important for them, especially Lottie and Lanny, to know of this great thing that had happened. She knew that if no one shared this joy, the city sheep had an obligation to do so. After all, they were just as special to Barbados as the city was. They were Barbados black-belly sheep, born in the city, national treasures of the island, and historic Bridgetown belonged to them. Bah, bah, bleated Lottie loudly as she skipped across the street behind her mother, her aunt, and her twin sister Lanny. She was the happiest little black belly lamb ever. She knew at last why they were in the city on that particular Sunday. The end.
Miss Gulstone, I absolutely loved that story. I
Thank you.
learned facts about Bridgetown. Some facts I knew, some facts I didn't know. Like, for example, the renaming of the bridge, those several times I learned that fact. And I love the way how the writer has used the black belly sheep, as you said, which is a national treasure, to show empowerment because she said she was special. By the
Yes.
time her feet landed, she knew she was special.
Yes.
And she always carried herself and she promoted herself as being special.
Mm-hmm.
So big up Lottie. Big up Lottie. I even saw Michael there. He came over as you were playing the ding and the
Yes.
dong. And I remember when we first started, you said he was sitting down on the ground listening
Yes.
so that he was enjoying the story.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
That's it. That's it for story time.
Mm-hmm.
How has having Michael and watching him transition into being a teenager changed your perspective as a parent?
When Michael was diagnosed with Down syndrome, as a new mother, I could not imagine everything that would entailed. Of course, I would have seen children with this condition before, but now it was right at home. But as a Christian, I prayed and I knew that God would not give me more than I could bear, as our old people rightly say. So it was just one day at a time, one step at a time, going to school and, looking after him. And yes, there were challenges, there still are, but I am so pleased. I am so happy. He is such a well-adjusted child. He is a very loving child. He's a very helpful child. And I know with all my heart that he is on his way to a very, very bright future.
One thing about him, he's always smiling. I always
Yes,
remember that.
very
He's
happy. Yeah,
always
very
smiling,
happy.
always
Yes.
happy.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges Michael faces, and what are some of the things you will like put in place to make things more equitable for him?
Okay, so the major challenge now is that he is nonverbal. So uh, it is important to sign so that he can communicate, but also for services and accommodations be made so that he can reach his maximum potential. He would have started attending speech therapy, but I find in Barbados speech therapy is extremely expensive. It's very limited time period, but it is very, very expensive. And in order to assist him, I believe that whether government or organizations, can work together. I know persons would have studied, so you would expect that will be paid. But I still believe that there should be some partnerships so that these services are more available and readily so, because there are not very many speech therapists in Barbados, strangely enough. So the appointments tend to be long. I find the sessions tend to, and then the children's attention span is very short. So we want to have partnerships both at the governmental and the non-governmental level in order to make sure that these children can grow and thrive.
I agree. So more partnerships with persons who can help them to reach their full potential.
Yes.
What type of support? I know you mentioned more partnerships, but what type of support would you like for yourself as a parent and for Michael as he moves into adulthood?
Right. So I believe now, well, even beginning before, but especially now that he's a teenager. So I believe it would be useful to have aides in schools, definitely aides in schools, who can assist the children where they when they're struggling. All right. Also, as they transition out of school, I know that there is the institution he's attending currently. They have facilities and a curriculum for when they pass the school age. So they teach things like woodwork, agriculture, culinary, arts and craft. So there are things that they can get into. The challenge though is that I find unless parents have a business or access to, some small business where the child can help so that that child can earn income, right? So those are the things that I would like to see put in place. I know I've seen in some businesses where persons with disabilities, because they are adults now, whether hearing impaired or disabilities with their feet or whatever, I've seen them in some businesses. I believe that there needs to be more of that, a lot more of that.
So we want to see our children with Down syndrome as well also involved in working and being able to basically help themselves, being able to make some little, well, not little, but make decisions for themselves.
For themselves, yes. Yeah.
Now, through the years, I've had the pleasure, I didn't actually teach Michael, but I actually had the opportunity of working in a unit where he was a student. And I've also had the pleasure of meeting and working with several students with Down syndrome throughout the years. So I'm just going to share a quick video as a tribute to them. Now, special mention, one of the students there, her name is Rasanta. She is no longer with us. She had Down syndrome. She actually passed last year during COVID. So I think I should mention that. I also have students like Shanice and Joshua who also have Down syndrome. They're now adults in their late 20s. So I just want to pay a tribute to them with this special video. I don't want to waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't want to waste what's left. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. As the theme goes, with us, not for us. Is there a special message, Ms. Gulstone, that you want to share with our readers that you want them to take away with them this evening?
Certainly, I would invite persons to embrace people with disabilities, whether children or, because they are persons too. They have feelings, they have the need to be loved and accepted and appreciated just like any other person. And we like to say that sometimes it only takes an illness or an accident to cause persons to be disabled, so let's not take our lives for granted, but to embrace them as well.
So true. Now, readers, I hope you've been paying attention. Today's question goes, what is the theme for World Down Syndrome Awareness Day for 2023? And repeat it. What is the theme for World Down Syndrome Awareness Day 2023? Now, you can share your answer in the chat across all of our platforms on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Instagram when we post this video. When we come back, it's time for a Bajan mash up. Is Michael ready? Is Miss Gulstone ready for Beijing Mashup? Now, our first question goes, a song that reminds you of a special moment with Michael.
There's a song that says sometimes miracles hide, and that came to my mind when Michael was born. Sometimes miracles hide.
I'm not familiar with this song, but I'm going to go search for it.
Yes.
His favorite dish, and does he help you to prepare it? Because I know he loves to help.
He doesn't have one special dish. I find that I usually say that he appreciates my cooking, so he eats basically everything, and yes, he helps prepare his dishes. He does help.
A Bajan scene that encompasses Michael's personality. I know he can be a bit stubborn, but I know he's stubborn with a smile. So a
Yes.
Bajan scene that encompasses his personality.
That would be perseverance seldom fails. I've seen him, for instance, trying to button his clothes himself, and you know that some of the shirts, but no, he has mastered it. So perseverance.
Yes, you got it, Michael. Yeah, I love it. Yep, he's always like very determined. He will sit on there very quietly in his seat. He will observe everything, and then he will try to do everything piece by piece.
Yes.
So button your shirts. Oh my gosh. Great job. A place of interest in Barbados that he likes to visit.
Places would be the beach. Michael can swim like a fish. So Michael loves the beach. Yes.
Oh, you know, there's so many children that can't swim. So
but
that
Michael,
is an accomplishment in itself.
Yes.
So Michael, next time you're going to the beach, you have to take Auntie Karen because I can't swim, but I definitely can't swim like a fish. I'm being
Yeah, he's really good at it. Really good.
A little known fact about Michael that you may want to share and you will let everyone to know.
Michael is a very empathetic child. By that I mean, if he sees you crying, he will come and dry your tears. Yes, he will come and dry your tears. He will give you a hug. He has this comforting thing about him. So if you are distressed, you know, he would come and offer you support by hugging you and drying your tears.
Now I feel like crying. No, I honestly feel like crying. And we have Miss Harris is on, and it was also one of the teachers that would have worked with Michael as well. So welcome, Miss Harris. Now,
good evening.
Now that is it for Beijing Mashup. I truly learned a lot about Michael this evening. I love it. I can't wait to go to the beach with you, Michael. And anytime I feel sad, I know I can always rely on you to come and dry my tears.
Yes.
That's it for Beijing Mashup. Now, on our previous show, Simon Says went, freedom came calling. So to a village on fertile land, we made our central home. Emancipation, emancipation. I'm going to read it again. On our previous show, Simon Says went, freedom came calling. So to a village on fertile land, we made our central home. Emancipation, emancipation. And if you didn't know where we were speaking about, we were actually talking about the Freedom Village in Rock Hall, Barbados. So if you haven't visited that Freedom Village, you need to go and visit there. That is where the slaves assembled in Barbados when they were emancipated. Their statues are erected. They have some chattel houses that you would have heard about in Lottie Fine's heritage. So you can actually go to the Freedom Village in Rock Hall, St. Thomas in Barbados and get a glimpse into old Barbados and really appreciate our heritage. Now, this week's segment says goes, most people get 46. I've got 47. And I rock my socks every day of the year. I'm going to read it again for you. This week's segment says goes, most people get 46. I've got 47. And I rock my socks every day of the year. Who, what, or where am I? I see Ms. Gulstone looking out like she's thinking, but you should already know the answer. Good. Now remember, children and parents, to like, comment, and share on our Reading to the Two First Dates Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Special thank you to Ms. Patricia Gulstone for agreeing to be part of our Reading to the Two First Dates family.
Thank you. And
finally,
thumbs up to the author as well, Sandra Brown, a Barbadian. Thank you, Miss Brown.
Ms. Brown, you need to contact us on Reading to the Two First Dates so we can hear the whole series. Let me see how many places Lottie can get into. Now, finally, I hope everyone had an enjoyable weekend. I already have my socks. These are mine from last year. I hope you, and if you haven't gotten your socks yet, I would encourage you to go out and get a pair. You can try to secure a pair by contacting the Barbados Down Syndrome Association or by visiting a retailer who sells socks. I'll be definitely rocking my socks on Tuesday, and so should you. Finally, but before we go, Miss Gulstone, do you want to share your socks? Do you want to show your socks you have?
Of course, I have my socks.
Yeah, she has hers, and I'm sure she has a pair for Michael.
From Michael too. Yep.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, look like sweets. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So finally, readers, go out, get your socks. Remember, contact the Barbados Down Syndrome Association. Visit a retailer, rock your socks. You're not just rocking your socks for me or for a fashion trend. You're rocking it to show awareness for all those persons who have Down syndrome. Remember, we're doing it. The theme for this year is with us, not for us. Yeah, with us, not for us. Okay. Finally, readers, Reading to the Two First Dates wants to remind you, reading takes you where your imagination can't. Until next time, bye and have a great evening.
Bye.